Rolling out the country's 2020 international program to attract and develop a network of South Africans living in Australia. The program serves as a platform to inspire South African expats to contribute towards promoting a positive image of the country. Over 189,000 South Africans live in Australia. Joining us now to talk about this, we've got Tshepiso Malele, who is the marketing manager of Brand South Africa. Good to have you, Tshepiso. Thanks very much for coming in.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
So, Australia, the general perception. Let's talk to this. What would you say that perception of South Africa is in Australia?
The perception of South Africa is generally positive, I would say, and this is driven largely by the experiences that Australians have with South Africans. As you've mentioned, we've got quite a lot of South Africans who are living in Australia, and they contribute towards driving this perception. A lot of them are working there, they're on expat contracts. Some have immigrated, and through those interactions, they've been able then to start instilling that South Africanness and giving people an idea of what South Africa is about.
Yeah. Why Australia specifically have you identified?
So as Brand South Africa, we identified Australia because there is a large community of South African expats residing there. And given our mandate, which is to manage South Africa's nation brand reputation and position the country competitively in the global space, this program that we're running called Global South Africans aims to build a network of South Africans who are living abroad. And so in Australia, having mentioned the large number of South Africans, we identified those South Africans as having the potential to act as nation brand ambassadors. Australia is an important market for us. And South Africa is also an important market for Australia from a business and investment perspective. So we really want to pull all the levers that are available to us in order to strengthen our position as South Africa, so that we can start gaining ground from a business perspective and also from an investment perspective, and including tourism as well.
Yeah. Let's be honest about a lot of expats living in Australia that have left South Africa and have gone in search of a better life in Australia. And it is a known fact, I mean, it's no secret, that a lot of these South Africans don't speak well of the country. And they do, unfortunately, taint the image of South Africa out of the boundaries and out of the borders of this country, which I would imagine taints the image of the country, taints the reputation, and taints investment into the country. You, I'm sure, are aware of all of this as Brand South Africa.
Yes, we are aware. So in our previous interactions with the South African community in Australia, we've come to learn that there are two camps of South Africans. There are those South Africans who left because they wanted they didn't want to have anything to do with South Africa. But we also have a sizable community of South Africans who left in pursuit of opportunities. Some of them wanted to see what it's like to live abroad. Others wanted to join their friends and families. Others had very good work and business opportunities. And what we've learned is that the two don't often mix very well, because those proud and patriotic South Africans do not want anyone denting the image of the country. A sizable part of that community is still quite proud and patriotic, and they want to see South Africa doing well. Yeah. So we're very happy to learn about that. It was a very important insight for us to learn. And so when we engage with the South Africans, we know that we've got a good reception normally when we get to that market as Brand South Africa. And as we learned during the most recent engagement last week in Perth, we got a warm reception, and we've had a lot of follow-ups from those South Africans who were in our engagement after the Global South African sessions that we hosted there with the High Commissioner, and they basically want to reach out to us to say, how can we help? We are here on the ground, we're teachers at schools, we're working in corporates, we own businesses. Help us help you build the profile of the South African nation brand.
Yeah, because I mean, it would be a good campaign to try and change that perception, because you do find, and I mean, I've seen it, I've heard it, I've experienced it, and not here in South Africa. It's when I've been on holiday. I mean, I'll never forget the once I was standing in an elevator, I think it was in Hong Kong, and an Australian came in and said, "Oh my gosh, are you from South Africa?" Literally from floor 1 to 12, wherever I was staying. This guy told me stories about South Africa I'd never heard in my life, but all bad stories. And by the time I got out the lift, he had said to me that this is what other South Africans that had run away from the country had told him. And when I got out the lift, the door closed in my face. I was like, I've just heard things about my country that I don't even know that are not even true. And that as a South African, that can only hurt you, because you want the best for your country. You're staying here, you're doing your best to make it work. And a lot of people are out there bad-mouthing the country, which is stopping us from progressing. This, I imagine, is again a big concern, and I hope that that's being addressed.
Absolutely. So and that's why it's important for us as Brand South Africa to play an active role in taking control and contributing to the kind of narrative that we want to prevail about our country, and passing on that knowledge and the resources to the South Africans who want to play a positive role. Yeah. The example that you cite is a real one, yeah. And in the absence of any other information that is being provided in that market or in that country, the people who live in that country have no other information to go on. They believe the South African who says South Africa is whichever way that they decide to communicate it. So that's how we need every single one of those South Africans who are living abroad, not only in Australia, to act as nation brand ambassadors. And so our role as Brand South Africa through this program called Global South Africans is to empower them, reach out to them and motivate them, conscientize them, and share the resources then that will help them to become active nation brand ambassadors, and therefore help us reach areas that we would not be able to reach as a single organization here in South Africa.
Some people would say, why should we care about them? Why should we even bother? Your response to that?
We should absolutely care. Not only about those that are mentioned as being proud and patriotic, but even those who may be somewhat negative, because deep down South Africans love South Africa, and even those who've left and who say they want nothing to do with the country, deep down when they come into contact with something South African, when they see the flag, when they come across food, or when they meet their friends, they really miss the country, and they do wish that they could have a connection with the country. And so we have to continue working very closely with the South Africans and building those relationships and encouraging them to become active, so that we can build this country brand in order to enable South Africa, the South African economy, to strengthen, to grow, to increase employment, and to become a much more competitive country in the global space.
Yeah. So we talk about competitiveness. I see that there's a partnership, Brand South Africa's partnership with Cricket SA. I love this. Cricket, South Africa, Australia. Yes. What's going on there?
Well, when we were out in Australia for this program, the South African cricket, the women's team was actually playing on Sunday as well. So we joined them. We went out. We recruited a number of South Africans to come through to the cricket stadium and support the team. We handed out flags and some T-shirts, and we really made quite an impact at the stadium. We even got mentioned in some of the news reports as we were very loud and visible. And we did our bit to rally support for the ladies team, and they've been doing very well, and we're happy to see that. Yeah. And the relationship with sport is an important one, in that in the nation brand construct, when we manage and we build a nation brand, sport is one of the strong pillars that we have to work with. And as South Africa, it is an area of strength that we really have to leverage and use that to fly the South African flag and to shape the perceptions of our global audience in a positive way, so that we can then start reaping those benefits in many other areas, whether it be in tourism or in business, investment, and so on.
Yeah, Brand South Africa is always an organization that's out there and doing the most to try and put South Africa in the best light, with the best footing forward. This year, what is your plan going forward? Obviously, this is just one of many, I imagine, that you're working on right now, but it's tough times in general. I suppose we're very lucky with the coronavirus as we stand right now, that it is not an issue for us at the moment. But there are many other issues we're dealing with, and the economy is one of them. Joblessness is another one. Crime is always a major issue. But just in terms of some of the other campaigns that you may be working on for Brand South Africa for 2020, what's the big ones? Sure.
We have a number of programs that we run. Some are domestically focused, others are internationally facing. So we have, domestically, we have a program called Play Your Part, which aims to encourage active citizenship among South Africans, and really rallying and pulling in ordinary South Africans to play a part in building up their communities, so as to strengthen the nation brand from within, so that when we go out as the custodians of the nation brand and promote and communicate about South Africa and about what kind of brand we are, we know that South Africans on the ground are playing their part, and the interaction that international audiences will have when they come to South Africa will be a real one. So that is one of our programs. We've got the Global South Africans program that we've just spoken about. We also have a Nation Brand Forum that we host annually, where we bring in various stakeholders from government, from business, from civil society as well, and we have discussions and look at the key aspects of the nation brand and the role that each of those stakeholders need to play in order to assist Brand South Africa with building the brand and strengthening it, so that we can all benefit in our respective sectors. And that's a program we host annually. We will do that. We'll host it again later this year. And we also have international platforms that we leverage in order to address audiences that are gathered on strategic platforms all around the world, making sure that we have visibility for the country and we carry the messaging and drive a positive narrative about South Africa to those audiences, so that we can then be in a much better position to achieve our broader objectives as a country.
Fantastic, Tshepiso. Thanks very, very much. And also, no doubt, showing off our colours. With your tie and your socks. You have to see them. Tshepiso is doing the most with his tie and his socks. He's got them going there. I love them. Tshepiso, you show them how colourful we are as a country. I absolutely love it. Tshepiso Malele is the marketing manager of Brand South Africa, talking to us about the role out of their 2020 international program in Australia in a bid to encourage South African expats to promote a positive image of the country. Right, almost time to say goodbye to you, actually. Let's get that final look at tweets.